What's going on YouTube? Cloverbells here, back with another VGC Spotlight video, and today we're going to be looking at Chi-Yu, one of the four treasures of ruin, right? So I figured this one just made sense to cover because in the video before our tier list video, which by the way is doing very well, we were looking at Fluttermane, and it just made sense to look at Chi-Yu because I think both of them are a really good pairing. And by the way, I just noticed my GIFs at the bottom of the screen. I want you to ignore 5 of them. That's just because I was using them in my Twitch playthrough and stuff like that. So just ignore that and pretend you only see Chi-Yu. So basically, again, like I was saying, they work together really well, and we'll do a soft building team involving the two of them towards the end. But at the very least with this, I do want to talk about the stats, what it can offer to a team, some potential threats and checks that Chi-Yu can do, in a competitive format, because there's a lot. And then we'll look at some movesets and some EV spreads, and just give you some ideas on what you can do with this Pokemon. But the dark fire typing is really nice. If you think of like Incineroar, that's one reason why it was so good, because the dark coverage makes you weak to fairy, but then the fire resisted, right? So then you're able to just take neutral damage from the fairy stuff, right? So that's important. But yeah, so that's how we're going to do this video. So we'll start off with looking at the stats, and then we'll go into potential threats and those checks. Then we'll do the EV spreads and potential sets, and then we'll look at a soft team building using Chi-Yu, right? So let's just go ahead and get right down to it. Okay, so for Chi-Yu, again, I'm looking at these stats. I almost think of Volcarona almost, right? Because the last 3 of the base stats are always triple digits. Same thing with like Fluttermane. If you just put that up on the screen over here. So same idea, but Fluttermane obviously hits harder. Actually, it hits the same, but then look at the special defense and the speed, right? So it's not only faster, but of course it has a little bit more special defense, right? But back to Chi-Yu. So again, good special defense tank, very good special attack, and it gets boosted by Beads of Ruin a little bit because you're dropping special defenses by 25%, which means now your special attacks are doing more damage. So that's a good ability for it. The defense is okay. It's not too bad. The HP is where it's really lacking. Like base 55 is just not a lot. I mean, this thing is a fish, right? So I don't know how much bulk this fish is having. But there are ways where you can like compensate for this lack of bulk, and then just still thrive with your defensive bulk in the special side, and then just do a bunch of damage. The speed tier, base 100, so that's one of our magic speed tiers in VGC, right? Base 100s. If you think of like the old stuff with Charizard, Zapdos, Entei, Regigigas, these are all mons that are base 100, but we still have a few more in Scarlet and Violet. So if I just click the speed and just organize it a little bit, let's see who's a base 100 here. So not only Chi-Yu, but okay, Palafin is a base 100. Salamence is a base 100, although you're probably going to be using the Paradox version, right? Roaring Moon. Slacking, yes, I don't know how much that's going to see play. Staraptor, maybe not high up in the ladder. Tauros is base 100. Toad's Cruel, another base 100. Volcarona, same idea. And then, yeah, that's it. Those are your main base 100s as of this moment for Scarlet and Violet. And of those base 100s, who's the main threat? I would say it would have to be Palafin here. And then to a lesser degree, the Tauros. But from here, you just have to think about, okay, how do I not just die to Palafin? Because I'm just going to take so much damage. I don't know if I can EV it to live anything from that, but there are ways where you can deal with it, right? And we'll get to that part of the video in a little bit. But as far as speed tier, okay, we went over that. Special attack is really good, but again, our physical defense is very lacking, especially because of that HP mark of base 55. That being said, now what we're going to do is take a look at some potential checks and threats to Chi-Yu, so this way you understand what you have to be aware of and why you would even use Chi-Yu in the first place, as far as to like what you wanted to counter. So let's look at some of those mons. All right, so as far as like what you would use Chi-Yu to check, the first thing that comes to mind are like those ghost types. So if you consider Dragapult, you know, at the top of the tier, you are very correct. I mean, you're the fastest mon in the format, and you're a ghost type, so that's already good news for Chi-Yu because you're able to pressure it with your dark coverage and just KO it, right? And then that's also good on the flip side that Dragapult becomes a Terasteel type to counter those fairy types because you're a fire type as well, so that's fine by you. So, you know, more than enough to pressure Dragapult. With Goldango's the next one, and this is a steel type as well. So your dark coverage is great against its ghost typing, and then you have fire type for the steel coverage as well. So really, really good against Goldango, and I expect this thing to be a little bit more of a threat as well because, you know, really, really high special attack, decent bulk, and the speed tier is middling, but I'm sure like opposing teams are going to give it like good speed control options like Tailwind or something where it can like outspeed you, right? So those two you threaten. Scarlet to a lesser degree in the ghost typing. You know, again, I don't know how good this could truly be. I think it's okay, but you know, at the very least, you have something for it. Your dark typing is really, really good. Does have a pretty solid special defense, but you know, in terms of like this HP stat and you know, you combine that with your ability, I think you can pretty much just one-shot it if you're running like a Life Orb set. So yeah, there's that. And then I guess Brute Bonnet and Amoonguss, they also fall in the same category. Your fire type damage is really good against the grass typing of both the Brute Bonnet and Amoonguss. You know, you're gonna see them a lot in Trick Room stuff, or even just like redirection setup. So you're able to pressure the grass types that way, especially with like Heat Wave. So that's really, really good here. Wolchien, another one, the other one of the tablet of the Ruin Mons. The grass typing, again, you're able to pressure it. This thing is very bulky, by the way. So you might not be able to one-shot it, honestly, but there are ways. Maybe if you overheat it, yes, but like I don't think so. This is a very high special defense part. But yeah, at least you can pressure it, right? And it can't really do too much to you because you're a fire type. So yeah, there's that. And then you have to also like consider maybe some of the steel types. Like a King Gambit, you know, you can pressure them as well. You know, King Gambit doesn't really have as much special defense than regular defense, you know, good HP bulk, but again, you're able to pressure that with, you know, Heat Wave stuff. And then just like sticking with the steel team, I know we also did Goldango and Wolchien. I think those are the two main ones. But Bronzong's another one that you can pressure. Corva Knight is another one. Iron Treads is another steel type. You just have to outspeed it, right? So just be aware of that. I don't know about Lucre. I don't think so. Magnezone could be, maybe not. I don't think so. I know some people will try the Orthworm, but I just don't think it's going to be that relevant. And then maybe the Reverum 90 base speed is still okay. But at the same time, it's like, yeah. Scizor, another one that I expect to be pretty common. And then even the Bisharp with the Violite is also something you can, you know, put a lot of offensive pressure on that one as well. I don't. So the Tinka stuff, the Tinkaton things, yeah, I guess so. I mean, I just don't know how common this thing is going to be yet. And that's pretty much it, right? So at the very least, you pressure the steels, the grass types, and the ghost types, which, you know, there are a lot of, right? We went through quite a bit. So there's what you would use Chi-Yu for, but now let's look at some potential threats to Chi-Yu. All right, so for potential threats, of course, I'm already thinking, you know, the fire typing. So rock and ground is going to be a big thing to consider, as well as that water typing that we were looking at a little bit earlier with Palafin, and then the fighting coverage, you know, because, you know, Dark is weak to fighting. But I'll start with Tyranitar here. So of course it'll pressure with stuff like Rock Slide. Again, it is a spread move, but because your physical defense is so low, you're gonna have to invest a little bit so that way you can survive it. Especially if it's like max attack T-Tar. But yeah, that's one thing. Garchomp is the other main thing you have to worry about, whether it be something like an Earthquake or a Stomping Tantrum. I think you do need Intimidate support to be able to survive this stuff, especially if the Garchomp is running Life Orb. And it just wants to go like full attack investment. So that's something else you have to be aware of. The Iron Treads, even though you do hit it hard, he can hit you hard right back because of the ground typing there. And he's going to have ground coverage, and he is a physical attacker. So again, another thing that you have to be aware of. If it was special, then maybe you got a shot, but physical, you have to be aware of this. Great Tusk, another one. ground fighting, your two weaknesses. So look at all of this bulk and look how much damage he's dealing with base 131 attack. He does have poor special defense, so maybe I'll have to check the calc. If you can do like single target life orb, dark pulse coupled with your ability, you might be able to almost. Actually, I don't know. I think that base HP is still very high. I don't think you can one shot it, but you can like do a significant amount of damage to it. But it still poses you a threat. And then these two to a lesser degree. I'm not sure how common we can see them. Sandy Shocks, again, just because of this base 101 speed tier, you're able to outspeed your max speed Chiyu if you go for that, and then just hit it hard with a ground type special attack. But that being said, because it is a special attacker, we're able to take that much better than a physical attack. So even if it goes for something like a Life Orb Earth Power, I think we can potentially take that if we have Snarl support on the team, or even Light Screen. And then Tinglu, dark ground coverage. So, really, really high HP stat. That is insane. Pretty solid attack stat. Nothing to write home to mom about, but 110 is still okay. But I'm looking at the special defense here, base 80. But again, another ground type with access to Earthquake. Does it get access to Stomping Ground? Yeah, it does get access to Stomping Ground. Stomping Tantrum, I should say. So another one that you got to be aware of. And then, these are all like popular meta threats. So it's just like something that we're looking at and paying attention to. So this way we don't get like immediately surprised when we're using Chiyu. All right. And then from here, potential water types that could pose it a threat. Again, Gyarados is something that I expect to be common. It's very good special defense, both base 95 HP, 100 special defense, and then he just hits you hard right back with a physical waterfall. So that's something to be aware of. Again, we talked about Palafin. Just how much damage it could probably kill like 3 Chiyus. Especially after Terastallization water. Azumarill, another one, right? Because if it has huge power and it's gonna go for that belly drum set. Aqua Jet is gonna hit really, really hard. So just be aware of that one as well. And it is a fairy, so we do take neutral damage, but again, with huge power, it can potentially like just do so much. Dondozo, of course, with Tatsugiri. Again, it's gonna get that Omni boost. It's a physical attacker. Again, Chiyu, we don't really want to be taking those attacks, so we have to be aware of that. Rotom Wash, again, another one to a lesser degree. I expect it to still be relevant enough where it's still seen a little bit. I don't expect to see this in the top 20. I think maybe within like the top 40, you can see a Rotom. They're pretty good in certain teams, but again, special defense bulk pretty good. Also HP not so great, but again, the water coverage that it can provide is just a little bit threatening. And then of course, Iron Hands, the fighting Trick Room Master with close combat access that just like one shots you 100%. Look at that bulk, especially the special defense, not too much, but again, the fact that it does have fighting coverage is also something you have to be aware of. So there's that. Is there any other like fighting types that I want to be looking at here? I don't know if Annihilate is going to be all that common. Maybe Breloom, but maybe to a lesser degree that thing. We did look at Great Tusk already. I guess Hariyama, there might be some people trying to use Hariyama, but like, why not just use Iron Hands? It's just a better Hariyama. But I guess Iron Valiant a little bit to a degree, right? So that's something that we have to be aware of as well. Slitherwing, maybe. Yeah, I guess. I don't know how many people are going to be using Slitherwing. I guess maybe in the beginning because of Shiny New Toy Syndrome, they'll use it. But that's about it. And I guess over here there's Taurus. But like, yeah. The main thing is the ground stuff, the water stuff, the rock stuff a little bit, and the fighting coverage that we just looked at right now. So those are your checks and threats. So hopefully that was informative for you. And now we'll take a look at some potential movesets and EV spreads that you can do with Chiyu. So let's transition there. Okay, so honestly, this one is a little bit more straightforward than some of the other ones that you might try and use. But for Chiyu, in terms of movesets, if you just go down the list here, of course you're going to be a special attacker. So just don't even like look at the physical options. But I'll always start with my 2 stab moves first. So I'm just going to filter for fire stuff. And you can see these are the special fire moves that it gets, as well as the physical ones, but we're not going to be looking at those. So it does get overheat. That's a good single target move, you know, in instances where heat wave doesn't pick up. But again, heat wave is going to be our option that we are going to be using. In terms of other fire types that damage that you can use, flamethrower is another thing that you can consider if you want single target and you don't want to have to deal with overheat, where you're dropping your stats by 2. That's okay. I think that's also fine if you want to do that, but I think overheat is just better, just because, you know, you want to just remove them on off the board. Like, I understand you get your special attack lowered by 2, but then you can just switch out, right? So, but again, heat wave is the main one. And then from here, you want a dark stab move, and if you just click the filter, you know, you're not going to use crunch. That's physical. Dark pulse is your best option there. It does get ruination and snarl, so there's a couple more things there. Ruination is more of a supportive move. It just works like Hidden Madness, like if you remember Tapu Fini and the other Tapu's clicking that. It's pretty much the same thing. And the other 3 Ruin Mons, they get this thing as well. But definitely Dark Pulse for an offensive set. And then from here, you know, your last slot, you want Protect, especially if you're going to be an offensive threat. And you can also be like a supportive Mon, where you can just have Snarl, and now you're also a Crippler at the same time. Stab Snarl is actually pretty nice, and it just does a whole bunch of damage here, especially with this 135 stat. So yeah, really good here. And then for us, we're going to be using a Life Orb set, just because you want to deal some damage. But if you are pairing this with Flutter Mane, for example, just be aware. Maybe you want the Flutter Mane on, maybe you want the Life Orb on the Flutter Mane, and then that would change your set a little bit. Or maybe you just run the Energy Booster. It really depends on, you know, the rest of your team. But I'm just showing you like potential options for Chi-Yu at the moment. But anyway, Life Orb set. So max speed here, just because you know, we really want to outspeed some of those big threats that we were talking about. And max speed is just honestly the best way to go. And just, you know, being able to outspeed things is important. Then from here, it's a little unfortunate, but if this was like 129, then I would just leave the HP alone. And you still can, like, honestly, if you just want to do like this is totally fine, or maybe even like this. But you know, I always think this is always a little bit lazy. And I do like to invest a little bit in my HP, and I'm gonna factor in the Life Orb chip, where you're losing 1/10 of your max HP per turn. So I'm gonna push this to 139, and that's generally what you want to do when you're trying to optimize for Life Orb recoil damage. You want to end in a 9 with your HP stat, so this way you cheat the threshold a little bit, right? Because if you do 139 divided by 10, that becomes 13.9, which rounds down to 13 damage per turn that you take from Life Orb chip. If I push this to 140, now I'm taking 14 damage per turn. Why would I be taking more HP if I don't need to? So I just cut the threshold by 1, and I end up with this. And then the rest from here, you just end up putting in just a 4 and 4 in the both bolts, and then just go like special attack from the rest of the way. All right, and you know, you might say, well, why not just opt for a little bit more damage, because that's what it's meant to do. But you have to remember, you have your Beads of Ruin, so that's gonna help you, you know, deal more damage, and you might even overkill without this anyway. So why not just invest a little bit in the HP bulk, just to have at least some chance of physical survivability, right? But yeah, there's that. So this is our offensive Chi-Yu set with Heat Wave, Dark Pulse, and Snarl. And then of course the Life Orb and the Beads of Ruin just helps us do so much damage, right? So that's our first set here in terms of using the Life Orb. And now what we're gonna do is I'm gonna look at a couple of other Life Orb sets where you might consider changing the spreads, maybe even the sets. So let's look at those. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna import this, so just to make my life easier, so I don't have to recopy everything. And what I'm gonna show you now is I'm just going to reconfigure a couple things, and this is going to be a calc where I'm going to try and survive Garchomp stuff, you know, Earthquake and Stomping Tantrum, you know, assuming I have Intimidate on my team, right? Because that, if you Intimidate Garchomp, you reduce its physical attack, and then you have a shot at living, right? And I've already done the calc here, so I'm just going to show you the spread, but then I'll show you how I did it using the damage calculator. And again, I did this in all my Sword and Shield team building videos. So if you're a new viewer from Scarlet and Violet, this is how I'm going to show you how to do a damage calc. Because if you want to play competitive Pokemon, you have to know how to implement a couple of damage calcs You know, just so that you have that in the back of the mind. So this way, when you're playing a tournament, you know that you can survive a certain hit from a certain mon because you made that spread, and then you have more confidence in clicking your moves, right? But more on that another day. But let me just show you the spread here as far as what that calc is. So I still wanted to optimize my life orb chip damage. So I took away from the special attack, you know, and my consideration here is I already deal so much damage with life orb and beads and ruin. Let me invest a little bit more in my bulk and try and survive something. So from here, I have 139. Let me push this to 149, right? So 148 investment gives me a little 10 more HP, which is nice. And then honestly, just a little, I only needed this much attack, this much special attack. You might say that's so weak, but remember you have the life orb and you have the beads of ruin, and then just a little bit more defense here like this. I think it was actually this much. Yeah, so a little bit more in the defensive bulk. And again, you know, your opponent has no idea that you have the spread, especially if it's in a close sheet tournament. So, you know, more power to you if you know you can survive a certain hit from Garchomp, right? And now let me show you that calc where this actually survives Earthquake or Stomping Tantrum. Okay, so what I'm showing you here is actually the damage calculator from Pokesports. And the main reason why I'm using this at the moment is because they have buttons for Terastallization included into the damage, right? And that's important because, you know, you have to consider that when you're doing a damage calc. And I normally would be using this one, Pokemon Damage Calculator. This one, the Showdown Calculator, which is what I've been using, you know, for throughout Sword and Shield, and what everyone uses. But the problem with this one right now is there's no button to include Terastallization, and that's not cool. So I can't get like some of these accurate calcs. So at the very least, maybe when they do an update later on, they can show it. But right now, we're just gonna use the Pokesports calculator. So shout outs to Mike and Kev for having an up-to-date calculator, and they make this part of this section of the video possible, right? So the way this works, as with the other calculator, what you want to do is import your EV spreads. So let's say I'm going to take this spread and I'm just going to copy and paste it, and then go into the calculator over here, and then go down here where it says my custom set. I'm going to Control V and copy paste it, and I'm just going to say call it Chi-Yu bulky set, right? I'm just gonna call it that. You can call it whatever you want, but just for the sake of the video, I'm just calling it a bulky set. I'm gonna click save. Okay, and now if I go to Chi-Yu over here, I should see my set, Chi-Yu bulky set, and there it is. It pops up, and there's my EV spreads there. I don't know if you can actually see. I think it's actually kind of small on your guys' end. So yeah, so there it is. You can see that I put in my EV spread for Chi-Yu, and now I'm gonna just put in like just a general Garchomp spread. You know, just with like 252 attack and life orb, right? So let's just say it's a jolly spread because that's usually what they want, and then the life orb is over on this side, right? And now I'm just gonna give it both either Earthquake or Stomping Tantrum depending on the set that they want, and depending on their options. They may go for the single target ground move, or they may go for the signature spread ground move. Okay, so you can tell right here that, you know, Garchomp is 100% knocking out Chi-Yu, no strings attached here. You can see it just pretty much overkills me a lot. But now what you can do is, if you have your Intimidate mod on your team where you're able to intimidate a Garchomp and drop him to -1, now look what happens to the calc. Now you end up surviving this Earthquake, and you also end up surviving Stomping Tantrum. And now what you can do is maybe potentially get off one more move where you can KO this Garchomp, probably like a Dark Pulse thing, and then just, you know, remove it from play. And that's huge if you can live that hit. And just so that you can see, I already have Life Orb here. If I include Terastallization, and now if I go like Terra Dark, let's say for example Terra Dark, where are you? Right here. So this is actually kind of cool, where, you know, you just look, this is doing more than half, right? And if I just click this off, now I have what it was, Beads of Ruin, right? Yeah, so now you can see how much damage we're doing here, and it's pretty significant, right? But the point is, again, I'm just showing you that you're able to survive the Garchomp move, and it's really, really helpful if you know that you're going to be living this. But yeah, I mean, the Intimidate support is really, really beneficial. And that's what you want when you're trying to do some of these calcs, right? So I just wanted to show this to you. And now, this is actually kind of weird. Let me go back here. Yeah, wait. Hold on, I'm just trying to figure out like why did this do not as much as it did before? Did I click something? Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, because I changed my type to dark and now I wasn't fire anymore. So I'm not taking like super effective damage. And that's another good use of Terastallization, you know, where you don't even need the Intimidate support. But again, the bulk does help. But if you had to use it, or if you didn't have it, then you do have to, you know, have that Intimidate support and you're able to live the Earthquake and Stomping Tantrum. All right, so that's that. And now we'll just look at some other potential spreads here. Okay, by the way, I made my screen just a tiny bit smaller, so I just realized that you can't see me do like the +1s and the -1s, but it's right over here. So originally it was neutral, and now if I just click this drop down menu here, I'm able to click the Intimidate button and then just assume a -1 attack from Garchomp, and that's where you get these numbers, right? So now we can go back to the other spreads here. Okay, so we have that Chi-Yu spread. Now, what the other couple things you can do is either make it like a bulky set where you have like a support couple options, or you can just also sacrifice more of your attack and more of your bulk, and not more of your bulk, but more of your attack, and then just go with like a nasty plot set. So that's the Clover Greed set. So let me show you that set. It's very similar to this one where you still keep that damage calc, but instead of like Snarl, you just have nasty plot. And now you might say, okay, now I do have a very low special attack stat, actually not that low, but now with nasty plot, and because I have all this bulk to help me like compensate, now I'm just going to be dishing out a lot of damage with Heat Wave and Dark Pulse, and it's just going to do so much. So you can always opt for this. It's another Life Orb set, but this is a very ambitious set. I feel like, you know, something like this with Snarl is just a little bit more consistent, especially with the max speed set, and just as much special attack as possible. But if you wanted a bulky set, all right, and I'll show you a bulky set where I was looking at another threat on the team that's not as fast, not threat on the team, but I was looking at another threat that's not as fast as Chi-Yu. So I went down the speed tier and I found Chi-Yu right here. And then what's besides Palafin, what's another one that also poses a big threat that is very common that I can outspeed? And that Mon, believe it or not, was this thing. Where is it? I'm going down. Yeah, it was Great Tusk. So I expect like something like this, Great Tusk, to be able to outspeed it, and then just deal a bunch of damage. Gold Dangle is another one that I want to outspeed, but Great Tusk for sure, because it does so much damage to me, and it is a fighting type. So I want to outspeed a pace 87. So what I'm going to do is if I put in Great Tusk like this, and if I max speed it, okay, if I go like Jolly Spread, and I see that it hits 152, so that means I want to hit 153 on my Chi-Yu, and unfortunately, even if I just go max speed, no speed nature, I'm at 152, so I speed tie the Great Tusk, which is unfortunate, but at the very least, what now I can do is still go Timid, and just go to 153 like this, but it very fortunately gets me to an EV bump. So not only do I not need 153, I can just go to 154, and this is actually the bump in the EV spread over here where my stat increases by 2 points anyway. So that's kind of cool. And now what I can do is with this 352 EVs, now I can just invest more in my bulk, and I don't really need special attack here. This is a bulky set, and I pretty much just want most of my bulk and my HP and my defense. So I went to 236 defense just to optimize my Citrus Berry, which is my recovery item over here, because I always wanted even numbered just to optimize the recovery. Otherwise, when I do the recovery math, right, it comes out to a decimal and then it rounds down. So you never want that. That's why I didn't go max speed here, because this berry recovery is a decimal. So I went to 160, where I get a flat whole number recovery. And then from here, I just dumped the rest into on defense, and now I've got a very bulky Chi-Yu spread. And the way I did this was I wanted Heat Wave, I wanted Will-O-Wisp as a crippler, I wanted Snarl, and then from here you have two options. You can go for your Ruination just to chip everything to have health, and let your Fluttermane or whatever Mon finish the job, or I went with like something like Scary Face where you get like speed control here, This is also another option, but I feel like if you're going to do this, I would just max out the speed. So this way you have like quote unquote a faster scary face. But at the very least, I'm able to outspeed like Great Tusk, click Will-O-Wisp, and then the job is done. Because then it just is not going to do as much damage, for example, right? But it's a bulky set where you can cripple special attackers and physical attackers because you have Will-O-Wisp and Snarl, and then you get speed control with Scary Face, or you can get you can just chip things down with Ruination. I'll leave Ruination over here just because it's a supportive set. But yeah, I feel like this is it. It's pretty much more straightforward than some of my other things that we've done in the couple other videos, but it's mainly like an offensive threat. And you can also run it as a supportive set, you know, with this kind of stuff, right? So yeah, now what we're gonna do is take a look at maybe a soft team building where we can pair it with some potential partners and have it do well or just balance the team overall, right? So now we'll transition to that part of the video. So let's take a look. Okay, so now let's look at a soft team building session where we take a look at some potential partners that you can use Chi-Yu with. And like I said before, I think Fluttermane just makes the most sense as far as like what you want to use it with. Of course, there's other good options, but I just like to start with this one. You know, and they help each other very well. Like you got Dark Fire and then you got Ghost Fairy. So the idea with Fluttermane is you're weak to those big steel types in the meta, but you know, and also like dark types. Well, not really dark types, but you are weak to steel types. And then Flutter and Chi-Yu, you got that fire type coverage. You're able to help Fluttermane out by just putting pressure on all those steel types. And then you have Beads of Ruin, where you're able to reduce special defenses. And now Fluttermane is also just hitting like a truck. So if you have like stuff like Heat Wave, and then you have something like Dazzling Gleam here, and then give one of these guys the Life Orb, depends on you. You know, either way, you're just hitting really hard with Heat Wave and Dazzling Gleam. Double spread move. And they're both relatively quick, so that's also good news for you as well. So they go together really, really well. And now you have to just consider, okay, how do I start building the rest of my team? I've got 4 more options. I have 2 special attackers. I do need some physical coverage on this team. And it's got to be like some kind of physical breaker. I do need Garchomp. I think Garchomp makes a lot of sense here because, you know, with Garchomp here, you get a dragon type that also gets access to Iron Head. And then something like Dragon Claw, that's Dragon Breath. So you get access to Dragon Claw or even Breaking Swipe. And then you have access to either Earthquake or Stomping Tantrum. I'll just put Earthquake for now. And then your last slot can be Protect. Okay, and then, you know, because you can go for a Terra Steel type, you know, now you have a Dragon that can become a Steel. And then you have the Fairy option. So now you have your Fantasy Core of a Dragon Fairy Steel Core. Which is really, really nice. And then from here, okay, I do need something for like, you know, just to flip the speed control upside my opponent's head, just in case they want to click like Tailwind and outspeed the Fluttermane or the Garchomp or the Chi-Yu, because we have 3 mons in the triple digits in terms of speed. So they go for something like, you know, Tailwind. I do want something that can do well, and also Trick Room as well. So I do want the Amoonguss. For that reason, it's great in terms of clicking Spore on things when you click Trick Room. And by the way, we will run Trick Room on this Fluttermane over here. So Trick Room is really nice. You're able to counter those Tailwind teams, and then you can put your Amoonguss in position to just click Spore on things. So like Rage Powder, Spore, and then, you know, Protect in the last slot, and then some other coverage move over here, whatever you want. Maybe Seed Bomb, ideally, right? Because it's your grass move. So I've got, now I have a grass type on the team. So I've got a fire type, I got a grass type, and now I just need a water type, you know, just to start completing my fire, water, grass core. I've already got a Dragon Fairy Steel core, but I'm looking at the rest of the team. Besides Trick Room, I do need maybe the other side, the fast mode of the team. I would like some Tailwind, and I think something like a Murkrow makes a lot of sense here with Prankster for a couple reasons. One, yes, you get Tailwind. Also, you also get Sunny Day, which is really cool because you have a Fluttermane that has Photosynthesis. So when you have Sunny Day active, now you get a boost in your stats, whether it be speed or something else. I would imagine special attack. But Murkrow can do that really, really well. And you're a flying type, so if you can put this next to Garchomp, you can Earthquake next to it, which is kind of cool. And then you get some other cool support moves. You do need one stab, I guess. I guess foul play is interesting, and then maybe just protect in the last one. You can run stuff like Haze, Icy Wind, another good speed control option. That's also there. You can do Taunt. You know, just really nice support mon that Mirko can do. But you know, I digress. But now again, I still need this last slot here. I would like Intimidate, and I would like a water type on the team, and I can only think of one option that can do that. So I'm just putting in water, and I'm gonna put in Intimidate right here, and you know, not Quillfish. I would like Gyarados here. I think it makes a lot of sense. You know, with just being able to put pressure physically along with Garchomp, because besides Garchomp, I wasn't really having that much physical offense. Gyarados can do that now, and it gives me Intimidate on the team, which I really like. And now you can start pressuring with stuff like Dragon Dance, and then of course you have your Water Stab move with Waterfall, and you can also Earthquake next to it with Garchomp, so there's more compatibility there. And Mirko and Gyarados, they're both weak to electric attacks. Garchomp is a ground type, so you're able to pivot into that if you need to. But yeah, overall in terms of like, you know, pivot coverage, you have the 2 VGC cores with Fire, Water, Grass, and Dragon Fairy Steel. You got speed control with Tailwind, also Trick Room, and if you want, you could either run Icy Wind on your Murkrow, or you can run like Icy Wind on this Gyarados and make this Gyarados a supported set. So you have lots of options on how you want to do this. This thing also gets something like Feather Dance, I remember. Yeah, where you're able to like reduce more physical damage, which is great for Chi-Yu and Fluttermane, because if you look at their physical bulk, it's not all that good. So if you have something like this along with Gyarados, I think it just makes your team a little bit more better to surviving certain hits and then just, you know, sweeping, right? So Gyarados, Garchomp, your physical sweepers, special sweepers, Chi-Yu and Fluttermane. Support options with Amoonguss, you know, redirection support, good into Trick Room, and then Murkrow is your fast mode with Tailwind and Sunny Day. So yeah, there's a soft team building there. And again, I'm not doing like complete sets or complete EVs. I'm just trying to show you how to like structure the team and what to go for in terms of like competitive viability, right? So that's that. All right, so we'll be back with another spotlight video in the next one, guys. Let me know what you think of how we did this one. Again, we started off with the stats. We started off with checks and threats, I would say. Then we transitioned into a couple of sets. I got to show you a couple calcs, and then we just did this part where I just showed you soft team building, where in terms of structuring the squad, okay? If you want full team building with me, all right, that was something that we did in Sword and Shield. That one is a tier 3 sub to the channel. So if you want to sit down in a Discord call with me where I show you and build the team from scratch, everything with EV spreads, items, movesets, complete everything, you can schedule a team building session with me with a tier 3 sub to the channel. If you look in the video description, there is a link where you can book a tier 3 session with me. Once you register, just message me on Discord, and then we'll organize a time where we can sit in that Discord call and just build a team from scratch. But if you're someone that has a team already and you just want me to like fix it up a little bit and optimize it, that's a tier 2 sub to the channel. So that's also in the description below, so take a look at that. But yeah, and again, happy Thanksgiving. We'll be back with another video in the next one, guys. Peace out. Have a good night.